long years. So good luck with that. And if you have any questions or comments you want to make, I can answer them, and you can always private message me. So let's get to tonight's subject about karmic relationships. First thing I want to point out is, what is a karmic relationship? A lot of people think a karmic relationship is the same as a soulmate, and it's not. A soulmate relationship usually is a connection that's very deep and good. A soulmate relationship feels good. It's a relationship that you could have with a partner, a friend, a lover, business partnership, a child. A soulmate relationship comes into our life and we're given that experience, usually in order to grow, bring truth to our life, but it feels good on the whole. Of course, you'll have a conflict with that person, as everyone normally in life has conflicts. But a soulmate relationship, it's resolved. It's in love. It feels good. It's growth. It brings you higher in your life. If it's a soulmate relationship with a lover or a partner romantically, you will accomplish something together that maybe you would not have done on your own. You will bring each other higher, and you'll have an understanding of each other. If it is a child-parent relationship, kind of same thing. You learn from that child as much as they learn from you. You have a bond with them. It's a sync. There's a connection. Feels like the dots are connected. And the same sometimes with business partnerships. I've had those where I've had a business partner very early in life that was a mentor to me, that just like, we thought the same thing at the same time, and there was this compatibility. That's usually a soulmate. Karmic relationships are sometimes confused with that because they're just as intense. Usually when you meet someone karmically, you have the same feeling of familiarity that you do with a soulmate. It's an instant recognition. You walk in a room and it's boom. I have a soulmate relationship in my life with my best friend Margaret, and we've known each other over 20 years, and I can remember the first time I ever met her, it was just like I knew her my whole life. And we oftentimes don't speak for long periods of time, or maybe she's busy with her life and I'm busy with mine, and we can talk after we haven't talked in a month or two, and we pick up right where we left off. That's a real soulmate kind of connection. Hi Chris, hi Joanne. A karmic connection is up and down. A karmic connection is on and off. A karmic connection, although you'll feel instant recognition with this person, the reason why is because the familiarity of the energy is taking place, but the energy might not be good. So both soulmate relationships and karmic relationships come into our life to teach us, but in different ways. A soulmate relationship is usually a teaching relationship where it's based on the foundation of love and feels good and calm and peaceful. A karmic relationship is a push-pull, is that you can't seem to get it together. You reset all the time. But karmic relationships have value just as much as soulmate relationships do. Soulmate relationships usually last a long time, if not forever. That person may not be in your life forever, but you'll have a bond forever. You'll feel them even across the miles. I have that with a brother of mine where I feel him sometimes, but we're no longer as close as we used to be. I have that with ex-partners where we just conjunct that way because there was a soulmate energy. And so you'll have a bond, but that doesn't necessarily mean the person will be in your life forever, but that bond remains. And I think that's similar sometimes parent and child. That will happen. Maybe the child grows up, has their own family, and you don't see them, but the bond is just as tight. That's a soulmate energy. It's good, it's calm, it's kind, it's loving. You truly want the best for that person. Karmic relationships. Karmic relationships mimic soulmate relationships. Why? Because if they weren't intense and didn't push our buttons, we wouldn't pay attention to them and we wouldn't learn anything through them. So the universe brings in karmic relationships in a very bold, very lightning type of way, because it's like the universe is knocking. Hello, we want you to heal this. So Kendra just said totally like her ex, there's a familiarity but not love. That's right, because it's karmic. You had a karmic connection with that person. Karmic connections do not last, thus ex-husband. They are brought into our life to heal something from our past. That's why they're called karmic. A soulmate energy may be someone you knew in a past life, but they're coming in to pay a karmic debt to you in a good way. A karmic relationship pays the debt sometimes with abuse, defeat. It can be a negative jealousy, push-pull, competitive energy. It'll bring up your childhood wounds, wounds from the past, persecution, things like that. Because the reason for the karmic relationship isn't bad in this lifetime. It's to wake us up to the energies we need to heal, which is a beautiful thing and brings us to a higher level. But unlike the soulmate relationship, with a karmic relationship, you're not going to the higher level together. You might be working on something and healing, but the other person is not, or vice versa. And that's why it's karmic, because in the end, the way that you heal the energy is to break away from the relationship. But the trick with karmic relationships is knowing when the time is to do that. And that requires a level of spiritual understanding. Because there are times with karmic relationships when you have to remain because the lesson is there. And you will build yourself up higher by learning that lesson. They behave very much like a soulmate relationship, except that it's not what you want. When you're in a soulmate relationship and you're with the person, you feel you want them. It feels right. You like being around them. When you're in a karmic relationship, as much as you can't break away from them, and as much as you love being with them, quote unquote, you also feel like, oh my God, this is wrong. I shouldn't be here. I really need to get out of this. I don't know how, though. I love this person and I can't leave it. That's karmic. And that's a relationship that will consume you. Soulmate relationships don't control you. Karmic relationships control you because you still are not healed from whatever the energy is that you need to heal. And so, hi Kathy, hi Terry, hi Brian. And so that's the difference between a soulmate energy and a karmic energy. For those of you who either just said hi or weren't on from the beginning, we always save these videos on the site so you can watch them anytime. And if you're a hopeless insomniac, it can even be at 2 a.m. So the other thing with karmic relationships as opposed to soulmate relationships is soulmate relationships always evolve and they become deeper and stronger and you keep getting things out of them as far as your own soul recognition and your own growth. Karmic relationships, they are patterns. It's like a pattern you can't get out of. It's a repeat. It's a repeat because there's someone in that partnership that has to learn something they're not getting. So sometimes that's because we're trying to heal abuse, we're trying to heal dependency, we're trying to heal self-worth. Oftentimes karmic relationships revolve around those things. Fears, karmic relationships make you irrational. And sometimes that can be in very subtle ways. You know, you just keep spending time with someone and when you're away from them, you're like, why am I spending time with this person? But you can't stop doing it. That's not control. That relationship is controlling what you really want to do. Soulmate relationships don't act that way. Soulmate relationships, you just come together and it feels good and you love it and you have a great day and you know. Also, and this is the other factor and trigger about karmic relationships and how you'll know that it's a karmic relationship as opposed to a soulmate, and this is the big one, is it will bring out your dark side. A karmic relationship, don't forget, they're meant to heal something that we need to heal. They're meant to bring into this lifetime and bring up in this lifetime things that perhaps we didn't learn in the last lifetime. So they bring out our dark side. I can actually remember in the most intense karmic relationship of my life, which came in at a very, very tough time in my life, and that has a tendency to happen. Karmic relationships will come in when you're at your low point, or when you're vulnerable, and that's because the universe is trying to show you to do something different than how you got in that position in the first place. Make sense? So I remember this particularly karmic relationship, which was the strongest relationship I've ever had in my life. Not the most loving, but the most strongest. And so I remember now, at the time I was just beginning to become a healer. I had had my Reiki attunements. And I remember standing in the middle of a main street in oncoming traffic, screaming my lungs out at this person in a huge argument. And that would never happen. It was like I was an out-of-body experience. But this person used to push my buttons that badly. And ultimately, doing the work on that, it took 2 years, doing the work on that relationship, finding out what it was really about, and ultimately being able to walk away from it in peace with no judgment. Beautiful thing. The healing that I did was amazing because what I discovered was that energy, that person's energy, what it did for me was it aligned with someone from my childhood that caused those reactions. So in healing that, I was able to break free, and I will never have a relationship like that again because I'm healed from that. So that's really what the purpose of a karmic relationship is. The other thing that is confusing in a karmic relationship, and people will say, oh, but I love them. I could never live without them. You know, we read each other's minds and we're so connected. Yes, you will be. You will have that feeling each other, even when you're apart, that vibe, because there's deep healing that's supposed to go on with this connection. And so the universe has to give it to you in a very high frequency of connection so that you'll pay attention and listen to what the relationship is showing you. Now, not everyone gets that. We all know people who are in these terrible relationships or karmic relationships, push-pull, we like to, in the astrology world, call them Plutonian, for 10 years. Or you have certain people who, they have a really bad marriage, no judgment, and they're together like 30 years, and that's their claim to fame. If we've been together 30 years, yeah, but you like always killing each other. That's a karmic relationship where two people are not aware of the fact of why they're really put together. This is to deeply heal your soul, and after it, what usually happens to the person who evolves from it, and usually there's one partner who evolves and one partner who doesn't. Usually the partner who evolves from it reaches a very higher level in their life from the relationship. And that's how you know it's karmic. A lot of times in a soulmate relationship, if there's a loss or breaking away or something happens, there's deep grief, there's deep loss. You will feel that with a karmic relationship, but ultimately raise higher from it. And that's the purpose of it. But it's really easy to get, I'm reading notes, I'm sorry. It's really easy to get caught up in it because you do have that instant connection. It's not unusual for a karmic relationship to feel like home. I remember this particular person I'm referring to. The minute I laid eyes on this person and our eyes locked, it was, oh my God, this is the one. I've never felt like this before in my life. There is such a connection. And surprising to me, because at the time I was going through a horrific divorce and never in a million years would have ever thought that anyone would move me the way this person did, because at the time I thought that the connection I had had with my ex was the be-all and end-all of life. And so this karmic connection was so powerful to me that I thought it was love. And then realized, no, wait, this is karma, because love doesn't make you scream your bloody lungs out at somebody in the street, and love doesn't make you pursue someone and they pursue you and on, off, and all the crazy drama that happened was unbelievable. But I realize now that those things had to happen in order to bring me to a place of healing. I literally know I am not capable of that relationship now. Marianne says, which relationship would it be if you keep seeing the other person's name and other signs all the time? Okay. And Janine says, been there, done that. I've grown past it and know plenty of people like that. Yep. And Lisa, hi Lisa. So Marianne, sometimes that's a tough call, because a lot of times in a soulmate relationship, we connect with someone on a vibe level because we're both on the same frequency and we have so much in common and we can read each other's thoughts and things like that. I have that often with people in my life. But usually the connection when that happens feels good. There's a knowingness that it's a good connection and that that person is supportive of you and you both feel the same. With a karmic connection, a lot of times we'll see that person's name or keep being reminded. And it's funny that you say that, because the person I was just referring to, every time I went to a restaurant, the waiter's name was the same name as this person. And my girlfriends used to laugh because they're like, man, you can't get away from this guy. Because the universe wasn't finished with my lesson. And every time we broke apart, we were brought together because I wasn't done with the healing of the lesson. If you leave a karmic relationship or it dissolves before it's supposed to, perhaps the other person, perhaps you're the partner that's supposed to evolve, and the other partner breaks away and abandons you, there will be someone exactly like that person coming in on his heels. And that's why I so often tell people, when you're in the pattern of the same type of person, and you're in the pattern of relationships, and no matter what you do, you seem to attract the same type of person, it's very, very important for you when those relationships end or one of them ends to be by yourself for a very good period of time, because you need to heal and understand the pattern, or the person coming in will be exactly like that person. So it's very important to take time between your strong and your major relationships, because you need to go within. The most important relationship you have is with yourself and your own karma. And so you really need to understand that before you take on another. Because if you don't, your vibration and frequency will attract the same person. You have to heal what brought that karma into your life to begin with. Brian says, I've been there several times. Karmic relationships for me were a pain in the butt. It was just so, I can't read, so, I don't know if I can do this. So painful for me. Maybe drop into darkness only to come out of it. Exactly. I was probably in more darkness when that person was in my life. And the funny thing is when I was in it, telling myself, this is the love of my life. This is all going to work out. See, I thought of him today. Or, I mean, our connection was so strong that I would get a sensation that something was wrong and call him and say, what just happened? And something horrific just happened. It was a very, very strong karma. But it was because I was a tough case and I was, sleepwalking through my life at that time. So it took a really big alarm clock to wake me up. And so deep, 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 tremendous pain. But the amount of learning that I learned from it, could never replace, because I probably learned in 2 years what it would have taken me 40 years on a psychiatrist's couch to learn. And I'm so grateful to that person now. As much as he caused me egregious pain, I'm so grateful because he was the best teacher of my life and elevated me spiritually from what I learned about myself through the injurious behavior that I had to suffer. Would I have preferred to have my destiny much more gently? Yes, but unfortunately, we're not always in charge of creator, right? We're only in charge of our own free will. I chose to do that. I contracted to do that. So that's what happened. And Brian says his karmic relationships were all long distance, and I gave them everything I had. I know that feeling. By the time this particular karmic relationship ended for me, I had lost a business to, I didn't have the heart for it anymore. It wasn't a financial thing, but I didn't have the heart for it anymore. It really took the wind out of my sails. And I guess I could tell you that when I was done with that couple of years of karma, my whole life was rebuilt after that, which I'm thankful for. But in order to rebuild, you got to go to the bottom, right? So it was a really tough time. And the other thing I wanted to say is usually these happen to pay a karmic debt. It's different from a soulmate relationship. Soulmate relationship, if you're paying a karmic debt, sometimes it's because you were separated in another life, lovers separated by war or something like that, and now have found each other in this lifetime. Karmic debt can also be parent-child, friendships. Is the live feed is frozen, someone said? Are we still on live? I'm not seeing anything like we're frozen. Somebody just tell me if we're okay, if you can see me. So, what was I saying? So those karmic debts are coming in to clear energy that was incomplete. And that's a little bit different than the energy that comes in to absolutely heal a karma, all right? Does anybody have questions or anything that they wanted to ask me about? I'm just reading over my notes, a couple of things that I wanted to say. So everything's okay. Okay. So usually your karmic relationships are your teachers. These people teach you, and unfortunately there's only two ways that we learn in this incarnation in the human world is we learn either through wisdom or pain. And a lot of us don't take the time. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Bonnie. Oh, my gosh, so many people I haven't seen in a while. I love you all. And the issue with humans is we learn through wisdom or pain, and usually we don't take the time out for the wisdom. We have really busy lives, and usually the high thing on our list is, I want to go see this guru and learn more about life. Like we put that on the bottom until something really bad happens. So we learn through pain. Let's face it. When we come to a place where we're more evolved, and then we seek more, and then we learn through wisdom. But for the most part, especially the beginning half of our life, we usually are learning through some tears and heartache, right? I think so. So how do you resolve a karmic relationship? Okay. I can tell you my personal experience and then rules of thumb. First of all, universal rule is, what is karma? Karma is a ripple effect. So, you throw a stone on a pond and it ripples out. That's karma. Every action has a cause-reaction, right? So in order to change or transform karma, you have to understand the reaction. Why am I really doing this? What do I need to heal? What is the lesson from this karmic relationship? A lot of karmic relationships can be boss and employee, right? Or either one. That's huge. It usually has to do with some kind of self-worth. Romantic relationships, same thing, self-worth. Maybe you need to heal abuse that was from a prior life or in your childhood life. Maybe you just have irrational fear that this person is supposed to bring out in you as an opportunity to heal. Remember, everything that pricks us, that's a trigger for us, that triggers us into a behavior we don't really want to do, everything that does that is for a reason. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. If you try and squash that down and don't work through it, it's not going to ever go away. You have to work through it. So in order to transmute and heal a karmic relationship, you have to go deeply into it. Not necessarily by talking and interacting with that person, by learning from the experience without actually having to have it fully. That's the real test. For example, instead of engaging with that person, I can say my karmic relationship that I had, the major one, he would just suck me into drama, so much drama. Well, I can't blame him for that because I was the one doing it. So that was what I had to heal, was why did I need to engage? What was I looking for? What was I looking to fill? What was the reaction I was looking to get? Why was I doing that? When I went deep and understood that, then the energy started to change. And I started to really focus on myself and could have the experience of the relationship without having to be in the relationship, if that makes sense. Kendra says, what about when it's a family member like a sibling? That's very difficult because the energy has to change. And what happens is the purpose of the karmic relationship, in a nutshell, is to rewire us. It's to make us evolve. So sometimes it's happening to make the other person evolve, and they're resistant of that. You can't fix that. So you can rewire yourself to the way you react to that person, and that's probably part of the karma. And I've been there, and I understand that. I'm renewing relationships now in my family that were very cantankerous, and it's because my energy is completely different, and I've healed a lot of things. So you can change the energy by rewiring yourself through the experience. But if it's abusive, if it's addictive, if it's someone who is in addiction, if it's someone who is just abusive to you or not honoring you, then you need to move away from that relationship, regardless of if they're blood or family. You have to find a way to resolve it so that it's palatable for you without dishonoring yourself. And that's a tough one when it's family. What I really firmly believe is that we have our family of origin and we have our family of choice. For certain times in my life, my family of choice was much more deeply connected to me than my family of origin for many different reasons. My family of origin is wonderful. They're amazing people. But because of issues in my own life, maybe I didn't vibe with them then, and vice versa. So I think that we oftentimes put too much pressure on ourselves that because it's a sibling, we have to. I don't think that's true. I think that it has to be our vibe. I put something up on Facebook the other day. Our job is to love and accept ourselves, not be loved and accepted by everybody else. And that's so true, especially for this. Hi, Donna. I love you. So as I started out to say, so in order to heal the karma, remember that ripple effect. We have to change our soul by paying the karmic debt. So what's the karmic debt? It's learning the lesson. I'll give you an example. Suppose that you had a person in your life, sibling or whoever, that maybe in a past life they were an abuser to you. And you never stood up to them. Maybe they were a persecutor. Maybe they were your jailer. And you never stood up to them. In this lifetime, they're going to persecute you. They're going to tease you. They're going to bring you down. They're going to have an issue with everything that you do because their job in the last life was to show you what you were worth. And you didn't stand up to it. So now in this lifetime, you get a second chance to learn your worth in spite of what that person does to you. And as soon as you learn that lesson, the energy changes and they don't tease you anymore. They don't pull you down anymore because now you have the worth. And that's a very, common example of karma. I'm sorry I keep looking to this side, but it's because I keep getting notes. And Julie says, but isn't it a basic need for us to want to be accepted and loved, to be part of the tribe and community? Absolutely. And it's important too. But also our free will should always be in place where we are choosing the community and the tribe that honors us. If we're choosing a place where we're in deprivation, if we're grasping for it, then that means we have not healed something in ourselves. Because when we come to the tribe fully healed, the experience is completely different. When we come to the tribe not in deprivation, it's completely different. I equate it to sucking on a straw in a glass that has no liquid. you're never going to be satisfied with that community. But if you come with a glass full and you know you have something to offer and you have something to get out of it, then it becomes an experience that's nourishing. And so we usually will attract karmic relationships when we're in deprivation, when we're grasping for something. Because if we weren't, we wouldn't need the universe to hit us on the head to heal ourselves. We would be doing it in our own work, on a yoga mat, in a church, with a guru, in meditation. So I do believe we all have the basic need to love and be loved, but you can never satisfy that fully externally. You have to satisfy that internally. And it's a very painful thing to learn. You know, to open up to you all, I had many a dark night of the soul, completely and utterly alone, screaming my lungs out, crying, where there was no one to hear me. In the end, I had to listen to myself, and I had to wrap my arms around myself and give myself that love. And then I knew when I was whole that bringing that to a relationship was what was really going to heal me, not finding a relationship because I'm screaming in the night. So that's the thing we all have to look at, and we all have our dark side and our shadows and our demons, and we all have to look at, am I craving this community to fill a void I haven't filled myself yet? Because if that's the case, it will never fill you. So we all have a need to love and be accepted, but if we haven't understood ourselves that way, then we'll never truly fill it by an external. Brian says, I had to heal family addictions. There was ancestral abuse that leads to addictions. In doing so, the family split more. Yeah, sometimes that happens because you cleared the karma. You know, not every family of origin is meant to be together. You know, and sometimes when you do that, a family of choice will come in. I'll give you a perfect example. My karma in this lifetime was I don't have any children. Later on in my life, several years ago, this beautiful girl, Addie, came into my life, and she has beautiful parents and a beautiful family, and I'm certainly not her mother, but I call her my spiritual daughter because she and I are soulmates. She's 27, and she's absolutely amazing and gorgeous, and we have these deep soulmate conversations. And I often think, wow, if I ever had a child, I would have loved to have had an Addie. And so that's a beautiful soulmate relationship for me. I call her my spiritual daughter, and I'm grateful. So maybe I wasn't supposed to have children. Maybe if I had children, I wouldn't have an Addie, you know. So I wouldn't have seen her in that way. So there's all reasons with karma. Remember, it's the ripple effect of the energy. That's what karma is. It's energy in motion. So as we change and evolve and clear it, things will change and evolve and clear. I also truly believe that when we do our healing work on ourselves, we attract different people in our life. And I've had that with my own siblings where, you know, I've done a lot of spiritual work on myself, and I'm sure I still have more to do. We're always evolving. But the person I am today is extremely different than the person I was, you know, even in 2008, 2009. So my relationships with my siblings are much different now. I'm very much in truth, and I say things in a very loving way. If something bothers me or if I really think something's great, you know, I can compliment other people now in a way that I couldn't before because I felt like I was in lack, and if I compliment them, maybe I'm not so good, you know, because that's a takeaway. Now I see that as a beautiful gift and abundance in the whole world. And by the same token, you know, sometimes you get criticism from siblings, and that's karma. And sometimes my family can be a little bit critical. And the way I have resolved that, this is kind of sound funny, but maybe you guys can use it, is when they say something to me that's really their opinion and it's kind of harsh, I think, it's going to sound funny, but I think to myself, if I was online in Kmart or Target and someone said that to me, would I care? No. So why do I really care? Because no one's opinion really matters except mine and God's in the end, you know. I mean, I will ask people I honor for their opinion, and they mean something to me. But in the long run, I think I have a pretty good barometer of who I am now and who God wants me to be, and I'm pretty cool with it. So, yeah, have your opinion, but just like praise, it doesn't carry a lot of weight for me. I don't need someone to tell me I'm great or beautiful. I know when I'm great, I know when I suck. I'm pretty honest with myself. So in that regard, hey, if, you know, treat them like they're the person online at Target. You wouldn't care what that person said, so don't let it get you. Somebody said, this is my favorite video yet. Thank you, Georgia Rose, for spreading the light and the wisdom. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I feel like I'm going to cry. It was a long road to get here, but this is really, I am going to cry. I'm sorry. damn Mars and Uranus conjuncting. I went through a lot to get to where I am in my spiritual life. And it's the energy I source my life from, these videos, the community that we're creating. And I truly believe that sometimes people reach out to me and, they're in detriment, they're having a really hard time. And I have some hard days too still, we're human. But I gotta tell you guys, we have such beautiful lives waiting for us. And I actually was listening, I don't listen to him often, but I was actually listening to Joel Osteen on the way to work today. And he had this really profound thing that he said. And he said that everything is an eventually, we just don't know it. And what he was referring to was this location where his church is, and how he was outbid on all these places he tried to get, and he didn't get them, and he was like, oh my God, I'll never find a place for my congregation. And then this place came up, and he said, little did he know that there was an eventually that God knew about all along, but he didn't. And so someone else had put something up today about trust, and that made me really feel the energy of trust today, because there's an eventually. We just don't know it. Eventually it all works out. Eventually we find the partner. Eventually we find the community. Eventually we find the love in our hearts. Eventually we're not in pain. Eventually. God knows what the eventually is, but we don't. And so that's the trust part. So I believe this is my karma. And it took me a really long time, almost a lifetime for some people. I'm not 25. To find my purpose. So thank you so much, because you're, Lakewood Ministries. That's right, Donna. So thank you so much for those compliments and validation, because while I don't live my life through praise or criticism, that confirmation means the world to me, because I know it's coming from people who support my karma and what I do and the mission of love in my life. So thank you so much for that. So this has actually turned out to be a really good video, and I actually I think it's kind of appropriate, because we've got that Mars and Aries Uranus conjunction, and that's pushing us all to where we're supposed to be. So whether your relationships are soulmate or karma, remember that ripple effect. Remember you throw a rock in the water and what happens. So really think a lot about your destiny, because sometimes we allow ourselves to tie our destiny up. And I know I did that for many years as a sleepwalker through life, and a workaholic, and I missed a lot of things I shouldn't have. And so part of having the karmic relationship is it will repeat and repeat with different people and different things until you can heal the cycle and break the cycle. And you don't need that other person to do that. That is work to do in yourself. So the more you keep pursuing that person or trying to get out of them what you need, the more the cycle will repeat, and you'll be really kind of kicking the can of your destiny down the road. Because the thing about karmic relationships is they're a gift. They come in at a time when we're in our lowest point, because we have a crossroads. And it's God's way, it's Spirit's way of saying, here, pick this side. We're going to show you what's going to happen if you don't. And I really believe there's so many things going on astrologically and just energetically now that it's pushing us to our life purpose. There's a reason why you were born. Everything that happens to us is karmic, the relationships and the experiences. And we contracted them before we came into this world. So we have to fulfill those contracts. And if we stay in the muck and we just keep repeating the karmic relationships and the things that don't work,